President Biden is promoting his administration's climate actions in Washington, D.C. today as the storm still swirls over concerns about his age and acuity, plus the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity.
With fear for our democracy, I dissent. End of quote. So should the American people dissent. I dissent.
Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump is seizing an opportunity. New York's district attorney is agreeing to delay sentencing in the former president's hush money verdict after Trump called for a court to overturn his conviction. We'll start tonight with Scott MacFarlane and Fin Gómez joining me now at the table. Gentlemen, good to see you. A lot to get to here today, but we have been waiting to hear from the president in a press conference. We haven't gotten that today. We're supposed to get that next week, but Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, did take lots of questions today. She didn't answer all of them. Let's play a little bit of her exchange with our White House correspondent, Weijia Jiang.
After the debate, did the president get examined by a doctor, or did he get a neurological scan?
A neurological scan? Look, what I can say is that, just to take a step back, it was a bad night. We understand that it was a bad night. And the president has spoken to this. And he understands that.
All right, so Fin, obviously not an answer there, but this underscores the idea that we are 5 days removed from this debate, and this is still the biggest topic in Washington, but also beyond Washington. Mm-hmm. This is something that the campaign knows they have to address, but they are taking lots of criticisms within their own party about how they're not addressing it. I know you've been speaking to Biden campaign sources. What are they telling you?
They are telling us that, they feel that they're in a hard place. That's a quote. They're in a hard place right now. They understand that. They're in the midst of a knife fight. One of the advisors told me, but they are planning to soldier on. Asked if they expect the president to drop out, to step down. They say no, absolutely not. He plans to continue at this point. I would say that in that press briefing that we saw earlier today with our Weijia and so many other of our great colleagues asking those tough questions, that answer, as you said, was not really given, right? It wasn't really, that question was not answered. It was more than just a bad day. And I think the census that we've been getting from speaking to both top Democrats and Republicans, but really top Democrats, not only those along with Biden world, is that it was much, much worse than just a bad day. And that answer has still not been really explained.
Yeah, and Scott, to that point, after the debate, there were a lot of Democrats kind of talking behind the scenes, talking privately. Now they are out on TV. They are putting their faces behind these questions that they have and questions about whether Biden should be the nominee. What are you hearing from Capitol Hill?
There's so many congressional Democrats who have busy in-district weeks around a holiday. You have lots of events, parades, barbecues, ribbon cuttings. It's a great to be seen kind of week, and they are getting dogged by questions from constituents and from media about this. And this is not something they want to be talking about in an election year or otherwise. And that's becoming a source of frustration for members of Congress, that they are now off message and off topic and certainly not wanting to talk about this as an alternative. You noticed over the past 24 hours some of the equivocation, some of the mushiness now and how they respond to these questions. There was a declarative nature to how Democrats were defending the president Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, especially on the Sunday shows. His top surrogates saying this is something they'll move past and soldier forward. Now you hear from some Democrats, currently in office and otherwise, about alternatives. Lloyd Doggett of Austin, Texas, making the first move, potentially the only move, but the first move of an actual sitting congressional Democrats saying President Biden should withdraw. The question that will define this night and tomorrow morning is, will somebody else join him that's in office now? There's been candidates who've done it, former members of Congress, progressive voices out there who have the ear of the White House. Does a second office holder join Lloyd Doggett? That's what the next 24 hours will determine.
And even if they don't join him, lots are expressing their frustrations and saying what they want Biden to do if he is to remain at the top of the ticket. Let's play some sound from one congresswoman talking about just that.
I need to see him out everywhere, talking, unscripted. no teleprompter, and he needs to make sure that the American people have confidence in his ability to run for re-election.
So, Scott, I know you cover Capitol Hill, you cover all these races. You've interviewed Andrew Craig a lot of times as well. Tell us a little bit about kind of what she represents, this kind of district, and the significance of her saying this kind of thing.
That right there is a frontline Democrat. Frontline means somebody who's got a tough re-election because of the composition of her district. But she's channeling the voices of people who have safe districts as well, saying there needs to be a strategy employed, that they've been urging more media appearances, more town halls, more rallies, more unscripted audience settings for the former president. And there is concern that so many days have gone by where that has not been done. The time's a wasting. He's now scheduled, according to the White House, for a Friday nationally televised interview. There's a lot of real estate between now and Friday, a lot of time for these stories and this opposition to foment and fester.
And at the same time, you know, they wanted to use this week to talk about Trump. Obviously, this big Supreme Court decision that came down yesterday. How is the campaign navigating all of that? Do they see a path forward?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I spoke to a top surrogate for the president in the battleground state of Pennsylvania just a little while ago, and he tells me, look, why isn't there more attention on this big ruling from the Supreme Court? Why isn't there more concern coming from Democratic voters, not even our base voters, or or the members on the Hill about this? This is a very very stark and to him. It's something that there should be a lot more attention and there should be more concern about, right, than what's going on with the president. However, I mean, we are in a political season. There are political ramifications to the actions of the campaign, and as Scott just mentioned, like, I mean, this thing could be this could impact not only down ballot races, but not just on the congressional side, on the House side, but on the Senate side as well. They're defending a lot of territory now, right? And so those Senate seats are up, are significant. And you could, there is the concern that you can lose both houses to the Republicans come November. And also, like, where does this go? Where does this go, CHB? If you look at there's polling coming out this week. New York Times may be coming out with a poll, and you're seeing these cracks that Scott just talked about. There's cracks amongst the Democratic front. What is the end game? How can this be fixed? And can they answer the question? Will the president be able to be the president for the next 4.5 years?
Our latest reporting on some of these down ballot races is that from congressional Democrats and Democratic campaigns tell CBS News there was a noticeable uptick in the donations they received for House candidates after the debate. There's two reasons for that. Potentially both are operative. It was the end of the quarter, and everybody likes to juice their fundraising right at the end of a quarter. There's a few days to do that, but also that there may be this pitch going out of a House firewall. These may be the most winnable races that can put Democrats in charge of some part of government, more so than the Senate, and if that debate doesn't have a dynamic change, more so than the White House.
And that seems to be an acknowledgement of what, could happen. Obviously, if Biden loses, they're already preparing to focus on the firewall. Exactly. Well, Scott MacFarlane and Finn Gómez, much more to talk about, much more to go, and we will continue on that. Thank you both for joining us.